Okay, so why would someone run for the presidency when his or her prospects of success are no more than remote? The authors describe such dark horse candidates as pulpit candidates, and there are a couple of basic motivations. One motivation is to pull their party either further to the right or to the left. Barack Obama's victory in 2008 was foreshadowed by Jesse Jackson's 1984 and 1988 campaigns for the Democratic nomination. He demonstrated the growing strength of African Americans within the Democratic coalition. Pat Robertson's 1988 campaign was motivated by a desire to pull the Republican Party further to the right. And his challenge, along with Pat Buchanan's 1992 challenge, pulled George Herbert Walker Bush much further to the right than he probably wanted, and probably left him vulnerable in 1992. Recent Bernie Sanders challenge to Hillary Rodham Clinton appeared to be a fool's errand. When he announced on May 26, 2015, Sanders trailed Clinton by roughly 27 points in most polls. Sanders, however, became something more than a pulpit candidate for a couple of reasons. First, he benefited from a small field. Second, Sanders advanced an uncomplicated and uncompromising platform, embracing economic fairness from an unabashedly social democratic perspective. His refusal to apologize for his ideology cloaked him with an authenticity that many Democratic primary voters found appealing. Third, Hillary Clinton carried into the 2016 campaign the same flaws that she had carried into the 2008 primaries. Her 2002 vote to authorize the Bush administration's use of military force in Iraq, primary among them. And then she had added vulnerabilities. Her authorization as Secretary of State of the sale of uranium to a Russian-backed Canadian company, the Uranium One scandal, or non-scandal, if you will. Her use of a private email server while acting in her official capacity as Secretary of State, and her actions in the assault on the U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya, in 2012. Sanders was able to, basically use Clinton's vulnerabilities to make himself a much stronger candidate in the general election. And that's another motivation. Even though you might fail initially, it might raise your profile sufficiently that you're able to launch future campaigns. There's another motivation for such unlikely but persistent pulpit candidates like Ron Paul and some other folks that for years appeared to be perennial candidates, and that is personal gain. Presidential aspirants have the possibility of leveraging a failed campaign into notoriety, which may lead to celebrity, uh, which may lead to lucrative opportunities for self-enrichment. Sarah Palin springs to mind. Usually, these sorts of candidates are able to monetize their campaigns by stoking public resentments and dividing voters with controversial us versus them claims. Uh, this sort of pulpit candidate closely resembles the classic demagogues of the ancient world. And even sincere pulpit candidates like Pat Buchanan and Bernie Sanders have had the effect of further contributing to polarization of our political parties. So, are pulpit candidates a good or a bad thing? It's tough to say with any certainty. But the loss of control of the political parties over the nomination process means, at the very least, that billionaire amateurs can convince themselves that they can run the country better than professional politicians. And then we find ourselves with this current fake it till you make it kind of politics. You tell me how that's working.